That's what we left our other one over.
Hello, test. I'm going to call the meeting to order. If everybody wants to take a seat, settle down. It's morning. It's 9 a.m. Today is Monday, November the 14th. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach. And I'd like to welcome you all to Base Camp. This has been our home for the past 50 some odd days, and it's nice to see you all here. All town council members are present, the town attorney, the town manager, the town clerk, and lots of other folks. So we'll start off, as always, with the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
As we gather here today, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community. We ask you to guide those who, as our government leaders, make their daily decisions that affect us, so that their efforts shall be motivated by the same great rule of charity and goodwill. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Go easy on those chairs. Okay, the next item on the agenda, the approval of our final agenda. Is there a motion to approve the final agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any objection? The motion carries unanimously. Next item is public comment. Madam Clerk.
I have two to read by email, but first up would be J.D. Cox, followed by Jane Plummer.
All right.
Oh.
No.
I can just stay here. Okay. All right. It's kind of different. All right. I'm JD Cox. I'm Fort Myers Beach Elementary School father. My daughter Aria goes to 4th grade at the beach school.
Take a deep breath, man. Take a deep breath. Take your time. Take your time. We got all day here. It's my last day. I got all day.
1.5 years ago, my family lost our 1.5-year-old daughter to ATR cancer. While the loss of the daughter and a sister is the worst thing in life, the Fort Myers Beach Elementary School children and parents, all in every grade and position, were there to be consoling and created a gathering at the cottage, Fort Myers Beach, just as if we were their family and they were dealing with the loss too. Every child drew a picture that was hung at the entrance when we walked into this gathering. This was an incredible showing of community and family that we are a part of here at Fort Myers Beach in the elementary. Our children in the past 2 years have gone through the death of their sister, COVID, and now Hurricane Ian. They do not need to go through losing family and friends by not being able to go back to Fort Myers Beach Elementary and having to change their school location and friends on top of all the other loss. This is a lot for anyone, let alone kids at this young age, to go through. Please hear this and see how important this family is to the community and the true growth and backbone of what this island, community, and family is, and do what it takes to keep Fort Myers Beach Elementary open. We want this message to the kids as our message to be that when things go wrong or seem hard, we have to be strong and rebuild, not quit and give up. Please don't quit or give up the fight for our kids in this school. Thank you.
After Jane will be Natalie Hinckley.
Hi, Jane Plummer, Fort Myers Beach, on Fairweather. As a parent of 2 beach school graduates and a grandparent of 2 beach school kids that wanted to go to the school that their mom and their aunt went to, I say if Sanibel can do it, we can do it. And we need families on this island. Let me just tell you that every year at the Shrimp Festival, the beach kids, my kids that are 34 and 32, meet together. They come back to the beach school, take a picture outside. They hang out all day, and it is a reunion for the beach kids on this island. And they have such community here and feel so good. And as a single parent raising kids on this island, I had to have that beach school. I had to have Bay Oaks. It was my family, and we need to get that back for the people who live here. We're not all tourists. Different hat, LPA chairman, I would like to request a joint meeting with the Town Council and the LPA to help address a lot of the questions and issues that are coming up with the 50% rule. And I think we need to have somebody from the county and FEMA to join us at this meeting to help answer the questions, that there just seems to be so many misinformation out there that we could provide more information to our community. So that's my request.
Natalie Hinckley, and after Natalie is Anita Saracita.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here representing Fort Myers Beach School as a parent and the secretary of the PTO of the beach school. I'm not sure if most of you are aware, but they're trying to shut down our Fort Myers Beach Elementary School. The school is not only historic, but nothing has been done since the hurricane, and we all know how quick mold can take over. It's just been sitting there decomposing. And from my understanding, 25% of all of our taxes go to the school. We feel like everyone is giving up on us. You know, we've lost everything. And if you think that we're struggling, you have no idea what our children are going through right now. This school is a sense of normalcy for them. It's their second home. Everyone from our schools is like our family. We need to stick together through these hard times. And please help us not get this school taken away from our children. I ask on November 22nd, there will be a Lee County meeting that all the parents and all the teachers will be going to. And we ask for the council and for everyone here to please be there and represent the Fort Myers Beach School and students. Please don't close this school and give up on us. Thank you.
Anita Saracita. After Anita will be John Heim. Oh.
Bad smelling microphone.
That's a hell of a thing to follow, you know? I hope the beach school stays too. So
There are a lot of people in this room. I see Jackie and Scott, and there's a lot of people in this room who understand the stress that you all have lived through the last 6 weeks. Some of us more than others, having been seated in those chairs. And what I wanted to do today was come and thank each and every one of you. Roger, Dan, Rexanne, Ray, Jim, Bill, John, Amy, all of the staff, Christy, all of the support network, everybody who has done everything they can to bring this community to the point it is right now. Because if you remember Hurricane Charlie, which was not the hurricane that this was, this group has been far more successful in recreating and cleaning the island and bringing resources back to the island in a very, very expeditious way. Though it seems like it has taken 1,000,000 years, the fact of the matter is you've moved mountains. And for that, I am very grateful. I'm also grateful to you, Rexanne and Ray, my friends, for your service the last 4 years. I hope that this next period of your lives will be filled with great joy.
John Heim.
Thank you. And, kudos to the council. We're all going through a, bunch of hard times. So it's probably the last time to point fingers at the politicians. My name is John Heim. I've been here 37 years on the island. Probably a lot of you know me from being a water quality expert. I'm going to speak to that, okay? A lot of the focus is on the road right now. I see people actually swimming in the water presently, and common sense would tell you not to go in there with all the debris and red tide right there at the mouth of the river, and the gates of heck are open from Lake Okeechobee discharges. I'm wondering if the council can go a little further to make a public statement to say the water is off limits to everyone, and like emphasize that on the news and even put up signage. We've been at it forever. I know Anita worked hard on signage to get it out there for information. Thank you, Anita, for your hard work with that, getting that done. It's imperative that we don't have any more casualties or fatalities. Obviously, flesh-eating diseases out there. Red tide mixing with cyanobacteria from the river is going to create another ecological disaster. So we don't want water or people in this water. And if we can get the council to really overemphasize that the water's off.
Hi, my name is John Koss. I live on the beach. My kids go to the school. I have a company on this island. This island is my roots, my family. I understand all the tearful things today about our school. It's time not to be tearful in the fight. It is ridiculous that this county's first communication with us was, we're taking your school. It's a travesty. Then people should be ashamed of themselves for what our families are going through right now. How much money does our town make this county? Way more than any other town. We cannot be tearful. We cannot lay down. We need to fight with everything that we have inside us. They cannot take our school from us. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Jackie Lezak, President of the Fort Myers Beach Chamber of Commerce, also beach resident, beach business owner. I too want to thank each and every one of you for all of the service you've given us before, during, and after the storm. I know how hard you guys have worked. I've been here every day with you. I've talked to each one of you multiple times. I've communicated with you. I've seen your faces. I've seen how we all look like we've aged. And I know that we don't carry this burden lightly. So thank you to each one of you. Thank you for the folks who are going to be leaving our council, and welcome to the folks who have chosen to step forward and serve us. Really, guys, this is a big job, and it's a thankless job a lot of times. So please use grace when you're speaking with all of the people who have served and are going to serve. We're not out of this yet. We have a long way to go. I also want to stand up for the beach school. I'm not a beach school kid, but I've been here since the early 70s and was homeschooled on the island as a kid during the winter. I didn't have the privilege of going to the beach school, but I sure wish my parents would have put me in the beach school because it would have been pretty cool to be a beach school kid. I cannot believe that our school district would take away our beach school, especially at this time. So I will stand with you, the chamber will stand with you, and we need that school for the businesses. The business kids go to the beach school too. That's an option, and it's one we haven't explored well enough, and we need to do better letting our beach businesses know that their children, any of their employees, can come to our school. We need to get the enrollment up. It's about enrollment. And I thought we were at 80-some kids. I'm finding out we were at 50-some kids. We need to get it to 100. Talk to everybody you know. Find the families who have kids. If they're going to private school, challenge them why. Why are you spending the money to go to private school in town? Bring your kids back to the beach. Help build our community. Help build our future with the beach school. So if I can help anybody with that, you know how to find me. Everybody knows my phone number. With other things, if you need help, check out the Chamber's website, www.fmbchamber.com. And we have all kinds of resources on there, whether it's the school or help for folks or help for businesses. And I'm here to help. So thank you all, and let's fight for that school.
Good morning. My name is Vanessa. I want to just reiterate what some people have said. This gentleman back here who spoke first, we have just moved to Fort Myers Beach. The reason we have moved to Fort Myers Beach is because of the school. We literally moved here because the school is so great. The people love it. It is rated so well. Fort Myers Beach, since we've been here, the generosity, the people, the residents, we cannot believe that we chose to move here. And now this has happened. Our little one is only in kindergarten, and she loves the beach school. She wants to go on Saturday. She wants to go on Sunday. She asks about all of her kindergarten friends and where are they. This is not a strip. This isn't Vegas. If we don't bring back the school, where are the families going to go? We're going to ship our kids off of the island into Fort Myers. The reason that they're here, the reason the families are here is because the teachers are wonderful. I saw people from Bay Oaks here. The after-school program is amazing. I have never, thank you. I work in pediatrics and I work in schools all across the country. I have never, ever seen people, the beach school, the teachers, and from Bay Oaks, the love that they have for those kids, it gives us security that those kids are being taken care of. I know my kids' teachers waited 5 years to get into this beach school because teachers don't want to retire, right? The school is so amazing. Please don't shut down this school. I understand what's going on. I am not from this type of climate, never been in a hurricane. Please don't do this. We are fighting so hard to keep our properties. Me and my family have been here since before October 10th, living on the island, no water, no power, shipping our kid to school where they need to go. Every day they're getting off different buses. I have a 5-year-old. I don't know what bus she's getting off of on the corner of Walmart where there are homeless people staying. So I have a 5-year-old getting off a bus. I don't know what bus she's on. I've got homeless people hanging around. And let's face it, it's Walmart, right? Traffic, people. It's not safe for our kids. This is where our kids are going to be safe, here. Please fight. Mine's only in kindergarten. She could have another 5 amazing years here, just like your kids, just like your grandkids,
Okay.
anybody else.
All right,
Please.
ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. No, ma'am. I'm not cutting you off. I'm giving you the same courtesy I give everybody. It's 3 minutes. I'm not cutting you off. Okay. Anyone else? Oh, Mayor Holly Smith from Sanibel, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Mayor. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. And I just wanted to say, you know what, we're all in this together. And I came here today to support the council, to support Fort Myers Beach. We are facing a lot of what you are facing. And if we do not work together, United we stand, divided we fall. So just know that the city of Sanibel is here to help in any way, as we're both having the same challenges that we're going to have moving forward, and we need to make sure that we all rebuild this together, because it is so important. What I hear here and what I hear on Sanibel, we are such special communities. And the word community is the most important thing, and it's a rare thing that we find anywhere. So please, come to us, let us help you, you help us, because I think together, being the beaches of Lee County, we're going to succeed together. So I am here to show my support for the council that I've known, for the council that I'm looking forward to get to know, and the work that you all are doing. It's been a tough 47 days. I count every day. Today is 47. And where we have come compared to where we were is absolutely amazing, but we do have a long way to go, and know that we're here to support you as well. So thank you.
Madam Clerk, go ahead. If you would like to read those into the record, that'd be
Yep.
fine.
All right, the first public comment comes from Jennifer Rusk. Please consider self-certification in lieu of inspections when using Florida licensed trade contractors to reduce inspector workload and expedite repairs with appropriate expedited and ex post facto permitting. Also, please consider waiving fence permits if replacing existing fence with the like kind and quality. My pups need a secure place. The other is from Patrick Romko. I am Patrick Romko, resident at Widgeon Terrace. I wanted to congratulate Karen Woodson and John King on being elected as new members of the Town Council. I want to thank Ray Murphy and Rexanne Hossafras for their time and service to the community, and Jim, Dan, and Bill for their commitment to our town going forward. In our time of need, I would like to officially be an active member of the town's process moving forward as an active resident of Fort Myers Beach. I cannot be in attendance today and ask that the new town council heed my request that I have reached out individually. I look forward to the future and will do my best to be an active member of this town during the reconstruction and unity of our community. Again, congratulations to the new members, Karen and John, and the new mayor and vice mayor-elect, Patrick Romko.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on. Before we do, though, I just want to say a couple words about the beach school. You know, I'm a proud parent of a proud graduate of the beach school, and I'm telling you, there's nothing that I would want more and that she would want more is for the beach school to stay. Unfortunately, I won't be there as an elected official, but I will be there as a member of the community fighting to save the beach school. A couple of months ago, before all this happened, I paid a visit to the new principal of the beach school and asked her to consider the fact that with Margaritaville coming online soon enough, that lots more parents would be bringing their children to the beach here and wanting to enroll them in the beach school. And I asked her to bring that message back to her superiors, and with the hope of that getting to the attention of the school board members themselves. So hopefully that message has gone back, and I'm sure that with the help of Jackie and all of you that spoke today, that that message will be able to refrain many times to those school board members. So we'll do everything we can to save the beach school, but ultimately it's not the decision of this governing body right here. It is the decision of the school board. But that doesn't mean that we can't lobby on the behalf of all the parents here in the school. I want to follow up on what that lady said about who started weeping about bringing her child to Bay Oaks afterwards. That was a godsend to me when my daughter was young. I brought my daughter over to Chapel by the Sea, who took care of her like she was their own daughter. And after that, it was Bay Oaks. So I know what it's like. I know what it's like. And we will do everything that we can to keep that beach school here. We know what a treasure it is to this island. We know how important it is to the parents. And just because today it doesn't seem like there are too many parents around here with young children, that doesn't mean tomorrow or in a year from now or 2 years from now that there won't be again. So I appreciate that fight that you're in for, and if I can help in that in any way, I will. So thank you for those comments. Okay, the next item is local achievements and recognitions. We'll start down at the end with you, Councilman Veach, if you have anything.
For the sake of expediency, I've got nothing.
Councilman Auerholm.
Nothing this morning, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Pass.
Councilman Allers.
Pass as well.
Pass. Okay, the next item is certification of election results. Excuse me. How could I miss that big piece? The next item is the approval of the minutes, and there are 3 sets of minutes: the October 25th, 2022 Town Council meeting, the November 1st, 2022 Town Council meeting, and the November 7th Town Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve those sets of minutes?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any additions, corrections, changes? Any objection? The motion carries unanimously. The next item is the certification of election results, and what we're being told here today, if I'm not mistaken, is that this is continued pending certification by the Lee County Supervisor of Elections. Is that right, Mr. Town Attorney?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll dispense with that until the next meeting. Next council can take that up. Before we get on with the inauguration, I'd be remiss if I didn't make a few comments on the end of my term here. I just want to tell everybody, and I'm not standing up because I want you all to hear this by the microphone here, although you'd probably hear me if I stood up as well. But I want you to know what an honor it's been for me personally to serve this community, my town, our town, for the past 4 years. The first 2 years as your vice mayor, and the last 2 years as your mayor. It's been my absolute honor to serve, and I thank you. I thank you all very much for that. I thank all of the people that have supported me over the years. It wasn't at the conclusion today that will end my 10 years of service to the town on the town council, a record that I'm proud of, and again, extremely thankful for. I want to thank you all very much for that, and the honor and privilege of serving. I want to thank a few people that helped me along the way, in addition to all the people that in the town that have supported me, and I also had a little other help along the way as well. I want to thank my family. I want to thank my mom and my dad, who I couldn't have done this without their support. I want to thank my brothers and my sister, my one brother-in-law, my favorite brother-in-law, for their support during all this. I want to thank my daughter Maggie and Kelly for their support of me along the way. I couldn't have done this without their support as well. I want to thank all the people here in Town Hall. I want to start right now. I'll start at the top with Roger. I want to thank you, Roger, for everything that you've done, not just in these past 47 days, as was noted, but throughout my tenure and prior to that. Everything you've done for this town, I appreciate it. I appreciate it all, and I want to thank your staff that you've assembled, who I've really got to know over these last 4 years, but in particularly this last 47 days. These young people have stepped up, and they've risen to the job here and to the occasion, and I'm extremely proud of them, as you should be, and I thank you for that. I want to thank the town attorney for all you've done over during my tenure. I appreciate all your good works. The town clerk, I couldn't get through these meetings without you, so I want to thank you as well, and of course all of my fellow council members. I want to thank you for putting up with me well, as your chair for these last couple of years. But anyhow, and but there are really so many people to thank. But there's really one that deserves it all, and that's Cheryl. I want to thank you, honey. You didn't bargain for this, but you were there for me, and I appreciate it. So thank you. So.
And thank you, Mayor. I mean, almost every time I've been here on the beach, you've been here working this last 47 days.
I wasn't done, Bill.
I'll rescind my thanks.
No. I'll listen to those thanks in a minute. But in conclusion, I just want to thank everybody for this honor, and it's been a tough time. There's no getting around it. It's been tough for all of us. We've all shared in this loss. You know, we could all go on and on and on, but I'm not going to do that this morning. But I want to congratulate the council members, the new council member Karen and John, wherever you are, John. How could we miss you? But I want to congratulate you two and wish you the best in your tenure on the council here. It's not going to be easy. I have a feeling that I had the easiest part of this with this recovery business. The real hard part is coming, is the rebuilding of Fort Myers Beach. So, but I think you're up to the task. As a matter of fact, I know you're up to the task. And if I can give you a little bit of advice, I will. I just want to say that when help is offered to you, take it. Take it. Take it every time. If it weren't for the people that were here to assist us in this recovery, we wouldn't all be sitting here today under this tent. I don't know what we'd be doing. These agencies that came to our aid in our time of need and picked us up out of this rubble and got us back up on our feet, we owe them a debt that can never be repaid. And they're in this room right now. All these fellows here from Northeast Florida. Before them, it was New York's bravest, the New York Fire Department. Before them, it was our team from Louisiana that came in here. These incident managers who helped us coordinate, facilitate, navigate. You know, all these steps that were required to get us back, to get us up and going, to track all the FEMA maze that is involved in all this. So I want to thank all of you, gents and ladies. Dallas, you're on board now, and your team, and all those that preceded you. We couldn't have done it without you, and we'll, as I say, we'll be forever indebted to you for what you've done. So, again, I repeat: if people ask for your help, take it. You're going to need it coming up here, and but I have every confidence that you'll be able to succeed. I looked at all of your resumes. I didn't see anyone that said town rebuilder on it, but I have a feeling that if you take that advice and take the help from other people, that you'll be able to pull us all up and make us proud. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. You know, I'm going to be around. This is my home. I'm not going anywhere. But again, I'm stepping down, but I'm thankful for the time that I was here and that I served, and I wish you all well, and I thank you one more time. Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you. Councilman Veach, accolades, please.
I just want to say that I don't think any one of us was really prepared for this, the just extraordinary damage and devastation that was done. But every time I was on this island most days early on, and every day I was here, Ray was here, Roger was here. They had no facilities at all. They were meeting at a table underneath a gazebo. The only communication was text messages. It was very difficult, but they really did a remarkable job compared to the stories I've heard of other hurricanes. And I really appreciate the work, Ray. I know you've given up pretty much your life for the last 47 days, and it's not unnoticed.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
I take this opportunity?
Yes.
I don't know if I'll get,
I'm sorry. I started off, and I really should have let the vice mayor start. That was very ungentlemanly of me. But Vice Mayor, you take as much time as you like. Please.
I pride myself on being brief, and hopefully people really listen to what I say, because I don't say a lot. The first thing I'd like to say is that I am truly grateful for the citizens of this town granting me the opportunity to serve them, because that's what I believe is important. We are here to serve, and I am grateful I had that opportunity to serve the citizens of this town. And the second thing I would like to say is that I don't want anyone in this town to ever forget the staff of the town of Fort Myers Beach. They have been extraordinary. Before this happened, they made my job easier being a council person. They answered every question I ever had and assisted me in every way I can imagine. The hurricane, well, first of all, we had COVID, and they stepped up in ways that I was amazed. And then we had the hurricane, and they stepped up again. I can't even explain to you all of the things that I've seen them do. And this town should be so grateful for its staff. They are the ones who make everything happen. We're up here talking a lot. We get all the press. We get our pictures in the paper. The staff is the people. They are the ones who make it happen. And I hope that future council members remember that. And again, I thank you for my opportunity to serve.
Yes, Councilman Idaho.
I may say briefly, I truly believe that public service is a calling, and I would say to both Ray and Rexanne, thank you for answering the call. God bless you both.
You know, I'd say the mayor and vice mayor and I have been attached at the hip, it seems, since 2019, when the three of us were running against each other. And along the way, you have taught me a lot. How to be humble, how to be tough, but how to lead. So I thank you for that. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And I just wish you both the best in whatever the next chapter of your life brings you. And I look forward to seeing you both around town. And I will still take any wisdom and advice you're willing to share with me going forward. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Don't worry about that humble. Hello? Don't worry about that humble part. That'll wear off soon enough. But, okay. Well, then we'll move on. The next item is the inauguration. So, Town Clerk, you want to take over? Town Attorney? Whoever's going to do the honors here.
We do not know whether or not either Ms. Woodson or Mr. King have someone who they would like sworn
Sure.
in. If not, either the clerk or I can do that for them.
All right. Well, why don't we do ladies first? Karen, if you have someone that you want to swear you in? No? Okay. Then come on up. The clerk will do the honors.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
constitutional government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of Fort Myers Beach Town Council,
the duties of Fort Myers Beach Town Council,
on which I am now about to enter.
on which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, Mr. King, you're up.
Okay.
I'm always good at her telling me what to do, so I never have a problem with that.
I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution
that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution
and government of the United States
and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida.
and of the state of Florida,
That I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of Fort Myers Beach Town Council,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of Fort Myers Beach Town Council,
on which I am about to enter.
on which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Time to come up. Come on up. Come up. Come on up. Take a seat.
Is there a difference?
No.
Mr. Town Attorney, are you going to take the lead procedurally at this point?
Sure. At this point in time, pursuant to the town charter, it would be appropriate for the now seated council to have its first organizational meeting where the first item of business would be to select the new mayor moving forward. And so I'll open the floor to nominations.
Mr. Town Attorney?
Yes, sir.
It is my honor and privilege to nominate Dan Allers as the next mayor of Fort Myers Beach.
Unless there are no other nominations, then you would put the matter to a vote. Any other nominations? The floor is closed. No nominations. And at this point in time, the Councilmember Allers is appointed as the mayor for fiscal year 2022-2023. So your first formal function, Mayor Allers, is to open the floor to nominations for vice mayor.
Wow, that's a big one. I would like to open the floor for nominations for the vice mayor.
I'll nominate Jim Adderhope, the vice mayor.
I will second.
Again, unless there are any other nominations, then we'll close the floor and put the matter to vote. Seeing no nominations, you can take a vote. First order of business.
In the vote for Jim Adderholt as the vice mayor, council member Woodson, do we do roll call or just?
Just ayes or nays.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Unanimous.
Motion passes unanimously. If we could take just a brief recess so we can move around and get everybody seated, that would be great. Minute.
This equipment's kind of iffy. Appreciate it.
Let's call the meeting back to order. I saw State Representative Adam Botana here. Is he still here? Would you like to say a few words, or are you good?
Yeah, no, thank you. I just want to say that I'm here, looking forward to the council. Thank you to Murphy, past mayor, and we're looking forward to working together to rebuild Fort Myers Beach. We got a lot of help here from Holly Smith. We hear you about the school, and we'll keep working towards that. So we're going to be here for the long haul. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Adam, before you go, would you grab the mic again? I just want to say yesterday, I happened to be at, I think it was yesterday, it's all a little bit of a blur. I happened to be at Bayfront Bistro, and I saw our now mayor and our fire chief coming into the bistro. They went up to the second floor, and I had used the restroom, so I went up there and saw what was going on, and I happened to see them addressing a group of, I now found out were 14 state legislators that were brought to our island by Adam Botana and a couple other folks that I'm going to ask Adam to recognize. But yesterday, and I served in the legislature in Indiana, and I'm telling you what, they have 14 Florida state legislators, all freshmen from all around the state, here to tour our island, to meet our new mayor, to meet the fire chief, to hear and see firsthand what we're going through. When Adam goes back to ask for help, for financial help, and for other help for our community, he's got 14 people that have been on the ground firsthand that took their whole day to come down here to see it. This is right after an election. I've never seen anything like it. And so I want to recognize Adam for that. I'm thank Dan and the fire chief for being there. And Adam, there were a couple other people who helped you with that. But I don't want you to downplay that because that's a really big deal. And I just want to thank you for that. And if you'd share the names of the co-owner of the restaurant helped. And I think there's another freshman legislator from Lee County that helped as well.
Yeah, obviously we have Bob Rommel that has Bayfront Bistro. He's opened. And our other freshman legislator is Tiffany Esposito from a new rep from District 77. And before this, we had pretty much the whole sophomore class here about a month ago looking at everything. So we do hear you in Tallahassee. I'm going to fight for every dollar. I'm a business guy, so we're going to bring a lot of money back to our district for Sanibel, Fort Myers, Bonita, everywhere that needs it. Matt Lachey. There's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm hoping to see Dan up there and Fort Myers Beach, and we might need to get other people to come up there and, just get in front of people. So let us know, but we're working forward to keep Fort Myers Beach its own council too. We're going to stand hard between that. I'm here. That has to go through me, and that's not happening. So just letting you know. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Do you want me to read this in now or later? Okay, I'll read this resolution into record now. It's Resolution 22-40. Make it easier. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending and extending the proclamation that a state of local emergency exists because of the catastrophic impacts caused by Hurricane Ian, providing for conflicts, providing for Scrivener errors, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Do we need to take a vote on that?
Historically, it's all those in favor, all those opposed.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. If my fellow councilors will indulge me for a minute, I put together something that I wanted to read so I didn't forget anything. I've handed a copy, or had the town clerk hand a copy to each one of the members. I just want to thank the council for putting its confidence in me to lead the town at what will surely be its most challenging time. A good friend recently told me that leadership is not about being the best. Leadership is about making everyone else better. Shouldn't have had that coffee. On September 28th, Hurricane Ian forever changed Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel. It took away 14 of our residents and neighbors, destroyed our businesses and homes, and changed our landscape forever. Sorry. However, it did not take our drive, our determination, or our culture. Over the last month and a half, I've witnessed the resolve of our staff to restore as much normalcy as possible through countless hours of hard work. Neighbors helping neighbors clean up and prepare for the future. It's that hard work and spirit that has made and will continue to make Fort Myers Beach our community, our home. I'm really sorry.
Don't apologize.
None of us have been through a catastrophic event like what happened to our town. Our goal should be to organize the council to ensure every member is engaged and fully informed on all matters that will be coming before us in the long months and years ahead. The only way we will make progress and keep the community engaged is through open, accurate, and consistent communications and feedback. We need to acknowledge that the physical structure of the island will be changing, but we should reaffirm our commitment to retaining the unique, vibrant, welcome culture that has always been the heart of the community. First, I would like to propose a way forward for the council's consideration. I've been in communication with Congressman Byron Donalds and his team, State Representative Adam Botana, Lee County Commissioners and their staff, and the Lee County Sheriff's Office. They have committed to providing assistance. They have committed to providing any assistance we need to help us along the way. I'm asking for the consent of council to allow me to pursue those talks and identify specific resources, present those proposed resources and roles to you, and with your approval, formally engage those resources to come in and provide experienced advice to this council to help us organize our activities through this critical period of recovery. Next, in order to plan for the future, we have to have a clear picture of where we are now. What assets and constituencies are we going to have for the rebuild? The information we have been using to base our decisions on over the last several years is planning our future has drastically changed. We need to get insight into what the new future data looks like so we can be open, honest, and factual when we take actions in our continual outreach to the community for their input. So I'd like to propose the following to get us started down that discovery path. Finances. We need to get an accurate, objective assessment of the town's finances, where we stand now, how much will we recoup from insurance, FEMA, and other government and private sources. I'd like to have the accounting staff work with the audit committee to start documenting in a way that the council and the committee can understand what we are facing. For example, in the current budget, what revenue streams are no longer valid, what expenses can be cut, what expenses will increase, and what are our current debt structures. Arriving at this will not be a one-person job. It's going to take all of us getting deeply involved and informed. The town needs to urgently recruit for and hire a finance director that can take charge of coordinating all the monies and begin to map out the next 5 years of our financial condition. John, I would like to ask you to lead that oversight for the council, working with the committee to supply the council with a report at each meeting while ensuring each council member has all the detailed documents for their individual review. Karen, I'd like to ask you to coordinate with the town manager in hiring efforts to ensure quick action, identify budget needs, and report progress back to the council at each meeting. Investors versus current residents. To be able to make policy and budget decisions, we need to know who and what will be the taxpayer base of the future. We need to get ahead of what the future will look like. What are the current purchases of the property for planning for properties? Are they aware of the codes? Will they be seeking variances? Are the variances good for the rebuild or counter to our culture? I'm proposing we direct the town manager to assign staff to begin to track individual real estate transactions and develop models of those real estate transactions. Along with monitoring and analyzing real estate transactions, we need similar insights into the type of quantity of town permits that will be granted. Are investors coming in and buying blocks of property? Are current residents rebuilding to new hurricane codes or rehabbing existing structures under older codes? What will be the insurance and FEMA impacts of those rebuilds? How will these investments change the face of the island, and what policies do we need to undertake proactively, not reactively? Let's get ahead of this. Bill, I'd like to ask you to take oversight on this effort. Work with the town staff and report at each meeting and make sure each member gets copies of that data. Day-to-day activities of the town. As a council, we need to look to the future, yet our citizens need us to support them now and make sure we are getting the response and resources they need from the town. We need to follow the progress of the activities with the town. How are our citizens doing? Are they getting the day-to-day resources and documents that they need to recover? Does the town manager have a sufficient staff and cash flow to effectively address constituents' needs? As a council, we need to stay informed to be able to react in a timely fashion to policy and budget modifications. Jim, I'd like to ask you to take oversight on reviewing monthly department head reports and citizen communications for the purpose of keeping the council and community informed and following up on unresolved matters with the town manager, being the focal point for identifying any operational issues that need policy or budget actions. My goal in asking for each of you to take the lead responsibility for critical issues is not to restrict each of and every member from actively performing their duties to our constituents. It's to ensure that we will have a baseline of consistent, accurate, and up-to-date information for each of these critical areas. Each of us will have valid opinions, proposals, and issues to raise, and I'm committed to conducting meetings that will ensure individual voices are heard. Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel were handed a devastating blow. But with effective, timely communication, teamwork, and dedication, we will be back stronger than ever. The culture of FMB will live on. And with that, do any council members have any comments?
Mr. Town Attorney, is this just a consent protocol here, or do we need a formal vote? Because at this point, I would move that we consent to the wishes of the mayor with respect to his recent proclamation, if you will.
Historically, the town has, shortly after reorganization of the town council, and certainly I anticipate will be on next agenda, if not certainly within 2 weeks, is generally the appointment of liaisons of the town council members to the various advisory boards that the town already has in existence, including the audit committee. So at some point in time, some of the, at least with respect to the request for interacting with the audit committee, that will come before you as a formalized appointment of the liaison. And so in that regard, it would be my respectful suggestion that one council member be assigned, even in the interim, to interacting with the audit committee as opposed to two. Which is in your proposal, you've asked a council member King to interact with the audit committee as it relates to the finances, but asked also council member Woodson to interact with the audit committee with respect to the hiring of potential finance director. And I'm concerned about the potential issues of sunshine law with that. And so, whoever is going to be the elected official that's going to be designated as the liaison formally, I would recommend that that's who serve that function, because that's how you have your system set up moving forward. I'm sure there's going to be plenty for Councilmember Woodson to also be involved on these matters. But to Councilmember Adderholt's comment, other than that is just if each one of you wishes to accept the request of the mayor with the caveat about the audit committee, then certainly you can make a motion to formalize those relationships with staff and move forward accordingly.
John, just one clarification. I was asking Karen to work with the town manager, not with the audit committee. Just so that everyone was not having sunshine. Just for some
clarification, that's fine. Okay. Then to Councilmember Vice Mayor Adderholt's comment, then just if everyone agrees to that, then you certainly can make a motion to formalize that and approve it. And then obviously we'll match up at staff level each one of your responsibilities to the extent practicable to the liaison appointments.
I would move for approval.
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, John, because you've been through quite a few of these municipal. Now we have a weak mayor form of government, right? So the town manager is the day-to-day operations, and the mayor runs meetings and is just another council member.
For all intents and purposes, yes, sir. He's responsible for running the meetings and being the face of the town.
Right. Now, I have no real problem with the allocations that are made, just the method of making them. Because I thought typically if we're going to, like we assign liaisons, we do that voluntarily at a meeting with discussion, not have it laid in front of us. So I'm just not sure if this is procedurally typical.
As I said, historically, there's been a resolution or there's actual votes for each member to be the liaison to the various advisory committees. However, I don't think that based upon my reading or listening to the mayor that his request necessarily matches up council member to advisory committee one for one, as has historically been done. There's nothing that says you can't do this.
Which would be another kind of point of discussion, because certainly things like rebuilding, I know a lot of that falls under what we do falls under the LPA, but it is a big task. It would be, personally, I like getting like advisory committees involved. We have an ad hoc committee to do something that's important, but recognize that can slow things down, which is not necessarily advisable. So, I mean, I have no problem with it. I would vote for it, but I just don't think it's typical to have the mayor kind of dictate it. It would usually come more from open discussions.
And I could certainly respect your opinion on that. This is by no means an attempt at dictating anything. It was a way for me to try to get ahead of the game, to try to decide what I felt would be the best action to divide and conquer, if you will, to get weekly updates, to provide information to this council as to where we are with staff movement, as far as where we are with moving forward. As we all know, we're in for a long uphill battle. So I just wanted to be proactive and try to get ahead of the game and start moving forward. But by no means was it me trying to dictate anything.
And one last thing, I think, to Councilmember Beach's comment. As I understand this process, as well as your existing process already exists for appointment as liaison to the various boards, it's a gathering of information function. It's not to involve any council member in the day-to-day operations of staff, which it would be a potential violation of state law and your town charter. So I think that the issue is the liaison is to, as the mayor has described, is to acquire information and distribute that information to the rest of the council, so everyone has the same baseline set of information in front of you in these different issues.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is items for discussion, restoration of Fort Myers Beach. Vice Mayor Adderholt, go ahead and start us.
Well, I have a number of issues that I'd like to bring up for discussion. I see the rebuilding of Beach Elementary School is formally on the agenda for councilman items, so I want people in the audience to know that that's absolutely a priority, and it will be discussed forthcoming. I had a litany of questions that I wanted to discuss and talk with staff about, but I want to get a better sense of where we're headed as a town in that respect. So I think we need to make a decision as to how we're going to proceed with respect to town manager, and I would like to open the floor for discussion on that point.
Okay, Bill, you want to start us out with the discussion
about what to do about the town manager?
I believe that's what Vice Mayor Adderholt was asking. Is that correct?
I think we should begin with that as a subject matter item.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you my feeling. Of course, I've never been in a situation like we have now, and never been in the position I am. But I've been around a lot. I've worked with Roger. I've worked with the staff, seeing how hard they're working and how much thought goes into this process. I really think that what right now in this state we have, where there's so many moving pieces, and Roger has done such a good job at making major moves that have helped us be in a better position than people were after Hurricane Michael and numerous other hurricanes. And some of those I'll point out were things like debris removal, managing that. So the town, if with Mexico Beach, they had responsibility for the debris removal, even though FEMA was going to pay for it. But FEMA pays for it later, and there's a clawback. So the way that worked is Mexico Beach had 3 years of pretty much no money to do any kind of rebuilding, because all their credit was obligated by this FEMA money. Roger maneuvered to make that so that we are now in a much better financial position to be able to recover. I think he's made numerous moves like that. He's done a great job of getting money and help that we need after this devastation. And I think, honestly, changing horses now, I understand he submitted his resignation. I don't agree with it. I think that over the period of time when we are really looking for these federal monies, that having someone with the experience of Roger, I think is very important, and changing horses midstream can leave us swimming.
Councilwoman Woodson.
I respect what you had to say, Bill. I certainly think we have a lot on our plate and a
Hold
lot
that
of
closer, Karen. Yep. There you go.
a lot of things to do. Is that better? Okay. However, I come out of a background of human resources on the corporate side, and it has always been my experience that when someone gives their intent to leave, they are mentally, in some aspects, out the door. They have decided to move on. With that being said, we do have a lot on our plate. There are a lot of different possibilities and directions we could go. We could bring in an interim town manager, someone with a lot of experience, knows all the FEMA regulations, someone who's been through this before. There are opportunities to talk with an employment law attorney, certainly through Fox Rothschild, that we could bring in and have a direction on that. In the corporate world, we would ask for a suspension with pay of the current town manager until we have these discussions. So there's a lot of avenues here, and I don't know that one is better than the other, but I think we should open it up for discussion.
Councilmember King.
I think I made it well known during the campaign where I was on the town manager issue, and now that he's decided to submit his resignation, I'll support him in that.
For those that may not be aware, last night we received the town manager's resignation effective in April of 2023. So I believe that is what sparked this conversation. Hearing that, I certainly have had my disagreements with the town manager. That's well known. But as I said before, I think he's been very strong in what he was brought in here to do. He was brought in here to get us out of financial crisis, and he did an excellent job at that. I do agree with Councilmember Woodson that usually when somebody gives their resignation, they have mentally checked out. I certainly have stated in the past that I'm for moving forward. Long before this happened, as I said at the beginning, we've all been through very, very hard times. I mean, I was sworn in via Zoom. So, we've dealt with red tide. We've dealt with the coronavirus, which we thought was going to be the worst thing ever, and now this. So it's surely a tough time, but if it's done anything in my mind, is it's reset the clock on what the next chapter of Fort Myers Beach will be. It's reset what we can do. I think everyone in this room and everyone sitting up here believes that keeping this culture is the most important thing for this community. The buildings are going to look a little bit different. I think we all realize that some things are out of our control, but there's a lot that isn't in our control. And I believe having someone that can stand in there that's willing to see this through over the next few years is the best route for the town. With that being said, is there any motions on the table?
I'd like to counter one kind of comment that was made. Roger has been around through a number of towns, and he's seen the writing on the wall even before the election. But I have not seen him, go into coast mode. He has been very engaged. I think that if he's willing to stay here until April, where he could just leave and collect a paycheck, I think we'd be foolish to not do that and give us the time to search for a town manager if that's where we're going. An interim town manager, I think it's someone who just would have to come in unfamiliar, and I think that would be a detriment to our recovery.
That's fair enough. I too have been here every day and have seen what Roger has done and what he's been doing. But this is a monumental storm. I think it requires someone that has been through it to this magnitude. It requires someone that will take leadership role very seriously, that will direct, that will work well with others, that will seek every dollar. Not that Roger hasn't tried to do that part, but I feel it's a time that we need, in order for us to start our rebuild, we need to start moving forward with someone that has been through this to this magnitude. But again, I will say, if there's no motions on the table, anyone?
I would just add to the public who's watching this, because it's a little strange, and quite frankly, it's strange for all of us up here. We received Roger's resignation letter late yesterday, and you got to remember, we can't talk to each other because of the sunshine laws. So it puts the council in an extremely difficult situation. For me, I think we need to have a transition, but I want that transition to be smooth, and I want it to be seamless. And I would yield to the mayor, because again, it's been difficult for us to communicate. I would yield to the mayor to discuss potentially what the plan, what he envisions as that plan for transition might be, so we can at least know that before we take this most serious action.
Sure. As I said at the beginning, I've been in communication with some of our state and federal reps and local people, and they have assured me that help is there should we want to take it, to help direct us as we search for a long-term solution. In speaking with them and some of the people that are involved, I have no doubt in my mind that a clear transition could be made very quickly, to be able to step in and continue on what Roger and his team have worked with three ICP people now. So I feel confident in that, working with the state, the federal government, along with Sanibel and Lee County and Lee County Sheriff's Office, that a transition can be made. It's not hard. It's not easy for me to even say that, because I do consider Roger a friend. I do consider him that he's done a good job. But I think the fact that he's willing to step down, it's time for us to move forward. And I believe we have the support and we have the help from all the other agencies to be able to step in and help us through the next few months as we look for a long-term solution.
That's exactly what I needed to hear. Mr. Town Attorney, do you have advice, or Karen, with your HR background, do you have any advice to how to structure the motion?
Well, as I understand it, you really have three options: accept the manager's tendered resignation along the terms and conditions which he submitted, or reject that and presumptively move to terminate him, subject to compliance with the terms and conditions of the employment contract between the town and Mr. With the town manager, or three, negotiate a separate severance that obviously would be would require the manager to indicate his willingness to do something different than what's set forth in his letter of resignation. And if that's unsuccessful, then you're back to either one or two. You accept the resignation or terminate, subject to the terms and conditions of the employment contract.
Now, John, just to clarify some of those terms and conditions, from what I read, what you sent and what Roger sent, we will pay Roger until the April date anyway, right? Because that's part of his contract.
That is correct.
And if we terminate without cause immediately, that would still be April, or would there be a different additional severance on that?
Under the terms and conditions of the contract, the town would have to pay the manager 20 weeks of severance payment, plus part of the severance would include his accrued vacation and sick time.
And pay him till the end of his term in April.
No, that's
the 20 weeks.
That's the terms if you were to exercise that clause today.
So if we were terminating him immediately, we would be paying Roger for not being here and paying an interim town manager for being here.
No.
Well, you would be paying, you would be complying with the terms and conditions of the contract to pay him his severance. How you interpret that to mean that he's being paid to stay home for those 20 weeks. That's a matter of perspective.
May I just ask a question? Because as I read the contracts, Roger's contract goes till March 4th of 2024. He was looking at the intention to resign April 20th of 2023. If the termination, if we decided to move to terminate now without cause, that salary stops. We pay him the 20 weeks of severance. And then that does not, and then in the accrued vacation time, it does not include, that is just base pay. It is not full compensation of all benefits, everything else. So the salary would stop, but the 20 weeks severance lump sum would be paid out.
We could calculate that for you and provide that information. The contract does say that it's subject to a resolution, so we would have to, assuming that's the direction the council wants us to take, then the staff, we would prepare a resolution providing for the termination of the manager without cause and put that on the next agenda for approval. And then we would implement the terms and conditions of the paragraph 7C of his employment contract, which is entitled termination without cause. And that does provide for lump sum severance payment equal to the greater of 20 weeks of the manager's base pay or the maximum amount of severance pay permitted under Florida law at the time of such termination, which is 20 weeks. That's what the law provides. Plus, the lump sum severance payment shall be in addition to any payment for accrued but unpaid leave to which the manager may be entitled.
Now, if we accept his letter of resignation, is there severance pay if he retires?
No. He would be entitled to at the end if he were to stay on for the 20 through whatever the date is.
April 20th, 2023.
Then he would be entitled to all of his accrued benefits that any other employee would be entitled to upon termination of employment, which is generally their accrued sick and vacation time.
But my understanding though is even if we had Roger stay until April 20th of 2023, there's still another year on his contract, so we would still be bound to pay the 20 weeks of severance.
But he's resigning.
No, he's resigning.
If you accept his letter of resignation that ends in April, then he's resigning, he doesn't get severance. That's what the attorney just said.
April 20th,
the severance is for,
Okay. Yep, I got it.
Counselor King, you got comments?
Yeah, I'm wanting to bottom line this and make it easy for everybody that's watching and for myself personally. What saves the town the most money? Accepting the resignation or is termination?
I guess the question would be, John, if you accept the resignation, does the clock, if you will, continue to go and roll on for accrued PTO? And I don't have the letter of resignation in front of me, but it did ask for benefits as well. So would that accrution of PTO keep building through the end of the resignation?
Yes. I mean, whatever. Yes. Whatever the customary accrual. Yeah. There would be continued accrual.
So would it be safe to say that today versus April 20th, it would cost more money on April 20th, regardless?
Well, the unknown is what you would end up having to pay the interim manager and what that individual may ask, which could theoretically be a higher salary on a per diem basis than what the current manager is, plus additional benefits. So, I would be speculating at best to try and answer that question without knowing what it is that you would end up paying the interim manager, what that salary as well as those benefits would be negotiated at.
Okay.
To me, that almost needs to be separate because we're going to have to go through this anyway. I just want to know what is the cheapest right now, either accept the resignation or terminate.
And I would actually, I'd find it, just trying to understand the math, that that having to pay 20 weeks of severance and hire somebody else, I'd assume a comparable salary to what Roger's making, would end up being more expensive, even though the severance does not include some of the benefit, margins. It's still the severance is the majority of what he would make anyway. So I have a hard time understanding how the math of paying for the severance and then having to pay an interim manager would end up being less than allowing Roger to continue with his resignation as planned and give us that time to find a permanent replacement.
All right, thanks, Bill. Bring it back. Unless there's any more comments, I'll bring it back to Vice Mayor Adderholt to see if your initial question was answered and if you feel comfortable making a motion or not.
Again, to the public who's probably frustrated listening to this, we just learned of this late yesterday. Again, with the inability to communicate with each other until today at this public meeting, which is the way the Sunshine Law reads. I just want to make sure I understand, if we were to accept the resignation, the new mayor is now prepared and has a plan in place to procedurally begin a transition immediately that would be seamless and one that he's comfortable with.
I have an idea for a plan. Obviously, I would bring it back to council once we know for sure if our town manager will be staying or leaving. It's not a one-person decision, as I said at the beginning.
No. But you're comfortable in that you've got a plan in place to have an immediate transition, I guess is my question.
I am comfortable with that, yes.
Okay, that to me is the most important issue. Karen, I would yield to you for the motion because of your HR background as to what you think would be the best course of action for the town. Not to put you on the spot.
Councilmember Woods.
Before I make this motion.
Before you make the motion, may I, one alternative that I would potentially suggest, particularly in light of Councilmember King's desire for knowing what the financial impact analysis is, which no one has that information at this point in time, is to, again, unless the staff already has that information, which I see the manager, but one of the things to do between now and the next meeting is, theoretically, you could ask the manager to put him on paid leave for 1 week while we procure this information, provide their information, and see if we can, give you a clearer picture to allow you all to make a better informed decision at the next meeting. And in the interim, obviously you would have to designate someone to step into the shoes of the manager while he's been put on paid leave.
With that input, I am comfortable in making a motion that we.
Yes. Go ahead, Roger.
Thank you. So, as best I tried in the letter I sent to the council and the council-elect at that time yesterday, try to provide you with a glide path as best I could. So, having heard your comments today, I think really probably the best thing for you all to do is to proceed with the new manager. And I think, with respect to the compensation, I'll answer Councilor King's question. It's probably a little cheaper if you elected to accept my resignation today versus waiting. So, just to answer your direct question, I will say this: the difference between the package is not significant, but it is a savings. And I understand you have a responsibility to the taxpayers. So if you feel strongly about A, a change is warranted, and B, you want to try to save taxpayers a couple of bucks along the way, if frankly at my expense, then that would be the appropriate motion to do that.
One thing I just kind of comment, and the idea of waiting a week kind of plays into this, is Dan, you've talked about a plan, but you don't want to really detail that plan until we deal with Roger. That makes me uncomfortable because like we're voting on something that we haven't seen. If you have a plan, I think that it behooves you to air it out to the council before we make a decision that may affect whether or not we go that way.
Well, I thought I did, but I guess without getting into exact details, there are people that are willing to step in to assist us to get us through this. They're willing to step in as soon as this week. So whatever the motion is or isn't, I just want the council to know that there is capable people out there that have offered their resources to us through different levels of government to be able to come in and help us get through to the next steps to find our long-term solution.
And this is to essentially replace what the town manager does. How is it related to whether or not Roger is here? Because you mentioned about wanting to get this resolved before you went forward with this plan.
You kind of will get what resolved? This
issue with Roger.
This item was brought up by Councilor Adderholt, not by me.
But in your discussion, you mentioned the plan, and you mentioned you're wanting to resolve the issue with Roger before we went on with the next plan. And I see a lot of people you're saying willing to help, but I'm trying to figure out what that plan is, how this vote is going to affect us going forward to something that really hasn't been clarified.
Well, I guess if the clarification that you're asking for is, would someone step in should Roger be terminated right away to fulfill his duties? The answer is yes.
And this someone would be someone from the county, someone from the state, someone from...
Well, there's options out there. I would bring the options back for approval for council. It's not, again, one person's decision.
And I understand that, but before I jump off the diving board, I'd like to know there's water in the pool. And it seems like we're jumping off the diving board here without really having clarification on what the future looks like.
Well, unfortunately, on September 28th, we were all pushed off the diving board. So we're in a spot now where we have to make decisions. We have to think forward. We have to think clearly, and we have to move.
Mr. Mayor.
So I will.
Mr. Mayor.
And I would add,
thank you,
Mr. Mayor. And I would add, we have to act transparently.
Mr. Mayor.
I agree.
For purposes of discussion, I'll make a motion that we accept the town manager's letter of resignation.
As we got a motion and a second discussion. Are you saying as it was written or effective immediately?
Effective immediately.
So you're saying, I guess I'm just trying to understand the clarification of the motion.
That's a fair question.
As of today or as of the 20th of April?
I make a motion that we accept the town manager, his letter of resignation, but make it effective immediately.
But that's not what he offered. Effective immediately. The letter has it him leaving in April, not leaving immediately.
Hey, man.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Roger.
My letter to you clearly states that you can move forward now, and that I would still be available to whoever is my successor to provide whatever information, technical assistance from that day forward, to be with whatever help possible to make the transition as smooth as possible. And so I think I try to give you that option so that if you wanted to go in that direction, you could. All I really ask you to do is not financially penalize me for doing that.
I think, Mr. Town Manager, I think my motion is consistent with your letter, is it not?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Are you clear, Karen, with what the motion is?
My understanding, the motion is to accept the resignation of the town manager effective immediately, and that he would continue to be available for questions as needed, but we would move forward in alignment with the contract that he has, the employment contract of 20-week severance plus accrued vacation.
So Roger, does that mean that you would be resigning immediately and not be
Well, to be clear,
Nothing.
just so you know, I want you all to make an informed decision and understand. If you accept the terms of my letter, I will be available not only for the next 20 weeks, but forever to the town, to the extent you ever want to call me and ask me for historical information in any way I can assist the town. If you don't abide by the letter, which is your right, then we'll just sever the relationship and wish each other well and move on.
And Roger, just to be clear, I think we've already said it, but just to restate it so it's clear, if we accept your letter of resignation, which is, I understand the way you gave us some flexibility, and we make it effective immediately, but fulfill the terms based in the letter, you'd still be available to help and assist in the transition. Is that fair?
To not just till the 20th of April, but forever.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, if I may, and I think part of the discussion here is of the use of the word by the Vice Mayor of effective immediately. The resignation is his last day of employment will be that April 20th date, and as it's currently written. What as I understand it is that he is essentially taking an approved leave of absence, which he will use his accrued time to pay for, pursuant to the paragraph that says, at that point, I will utilize my leave to be available to further assist my successor. So you're taking that money to pay him. You wouldn't be paying him his salary. You'd be paying him as I understand it. And
Yeah, let me see if I can help. So here's your option. Your option is to pay me a lump sum, or to continue to pay me biweekly. The amount, for all intents and purposes, is about the same. The amount, for all intents and purposes, is about the same. I can't believe that the money would be a driving decision. So it's really what you want. Do you want to end your relationship with me today, and we part company and we never speak again? Or do you want to maintain a relationship with me to the extent that I could help the town going forward with the transitional group or person that the mayor was alluding to, and anything else going forward into the future? And that future does not end on 24th. I will have felt that you have been respectful of my request, and I would be available to you forever if you accept the terms as I've outlined in the letter. I don't know how else to say it. I think Vice Mayor has it on point, and if there's support for that motion, I think we can move forward. And if there isn't, then I guess we'll talk about it some more.
Any other discussion? Go ahead, John.
Again, may I kind of a variation on where I think that Councilmember Woodson was at, which is to accept the resignation, direct staff to prepare a separation agreement that sets forth these terms and conditions as discussed here. And in the meantime, again, to the extent that that's consistent with what everyone understands to be the contents of the resignation letter and the will of this council, is to that the manager will take a leave of absence while we work through the separation agreement, which will set forth his agreement to serve as liaison and terms and conditions of his payment, where those proceeds will come from, and how things will proceed. That way, there's no misunderstanding of what the parties anticipate, and we'll put it in writing and bring it back to you at the next meeting, assuming that's acceptable to this council and the manager.
And John, just to be clear, just for folks who are watching, the authority for the town manager position shifts this morning. Roger's available for counsel and advice, but the authority shifts this morning. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding, and in fact, it would be my suggestion that as soon as you dispose of this item, that you take up the discussion and selection of an interim manager in the meantime.
Very good. I call the question, Mr. Mayor.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Motion passes 4-1.
Is that motion to bring back the separation agreement?
Yes, yeah, that is to give staff the direction to bring back.
Was that, I thought the motion was still on the, to accept the resignation, effective immediately.
Yeah,
Yes.
as I understand it, is to accept the resignation subject to the preparation of a separation agreement that will be brought forward together with the resolution at the next council meeting, setting forth the terms and conditions in the resignation letter in a formal separation agreement.
Now, is that the understanding of the motion maker and seconder?
Again, to keep this as simple as possible, I appreciate it needs to be lawyered, but the power shifts this morning, but Roger remains available to assist in the transition at the discretion of the new authority. That's my intent. And if that's consistent with what you just said, I'm
So I have a
comfortable
question.
with it.
I'm sorry. My letter is very clear. If we don't need a separation agreement, in my opinion, it's very simple. If you want me to continue to be available to the town now until forever, for whatever technical assistance I can provide, it's very simple. Accept my letter effective today. And then we can move forward in a positive way for everybody involved. I frankly do not want to have to come back and re-talk through this next week or week after, and try to restate this in some type of separation agreement. We have a very clear understanding. I think it's in the town's best interest. So if that's the case, I think, let's find out whether this includes a separation agreement or not. I don't think one's necessary. I think the terms are pretty clear, but I'll leave it up to you.
John, based on what the town manager just said, is it legally required to have a separation agreement?
No, sir.
Or is the resignation letter the separation agreement?
From the manager's perspective, he believes it is. If you approve the resignation letter, it would have that net effect. I would be remiss in not doing my job if I didn't say that the best practices would be to put it in the form of a separation agreement, but that's up to you all to ultimately say if you believe this is sufficient. And as I understand the motion that was made, as clarified by Council Member Vice Mayor Adderholt, this would be the separation document. This is the resignation, and that if you affirm the vote you took, this would be how it would be implemented. So the record is clear that the town manager has tendered his resignation. His last work day will be April 20th, 2023. At that point, I will utilize my leave, currently 80 hours to be available to further assist my successor with the transition.
But that there, it leads me to believe that's different than what I believe the motion maker made, in that we will accept it, but because there's a word I think you mentioned in there that said intend on. So I think what you're saying is that the best practice legally is to have a separation agreement brought up with the way that the motion was brought on and approved, of it being in effect as of today, but essentially it would be a leave of absence, if you will, and the power would shift then to the new interim.
To make this simple, if there is any question in the mind of this council what they're approving here right now, then my best practices would be to memorialize it in a separation agreement, and we'll bring it back in the package to you all with a resolution, which is required anyway, approving and accepting the resignation of the manager. But in of itself, if you accept the resignation letter as written, that's what will be implemented.
I would just like to further discuss Yes, I would like to have a separation agreement separately put together by an employment law attorney at the state of Florida. Along with that, accept a resignation that would be effective as of today, or suspension with pay pending this further discussion and submitting that employment separation agreement so that we all have exactly what is outlined on paper for all sides to understand. But it would be a leave of absence beginning this moment, and moving forward with the discussion for the next week. And then we will have the separation agreement available to us for our next meeting, which is Monday, November 21st.
So, John, we've already had a motion and a second and voted on accepting the resignation. Do we need a separate motion for the separation agreement?
No, if you, what I would suggest is if you are fined as a majority of the council, Councilmember Woodson's suggestion, that you make a motion to rescind the prior vote and accept hers as a substitute.
I just feel like we're making this harder than what it needs to be. Roger's pretty much spelled out, and Roger, thank you for the service you've given this town, and thanks for being willing to say, as a former broadcaster, we used to call him consultants, so be a consultant to help us with this transition and moving forward. We've already voted on it. It's time to move on.
Well, I'm comfortable moving on, but I want to make sure Councilor Woodson is comfortable because she does have an HR background. This has again been thrust upon us very suddenly. Would you prefer that I rescind my motion and we restate it with your proviso?
I would prefer to have a separation agreement signed, sealed, and delivered. Yes.
I would move that we rescind the motion and proceed according to the path that Councilor Woodson has just suggested.
And John, you mentioned that we also would need to do this by ordinance.
No, you need to the language in the contract. And give me a moment. The provision dealing with his termination without cause, which is not at play at this point in time, provides for the termination has to be approved by a resolution.
Okay. So first things first here, John, because we had a motion and a second and a vote, can we, by Robert's Rules of Order, rescind the approved motion?
The previous one?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So with that, is there a motion?
I just made the motion. Looking for a second.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All those in favor? signify by saying
Aye.
Opposed?
No. So that's to rescind the last motion.
Correct. So let's restate it because I think there was a bunch of people jumping in there. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Oh,
Nay. Motion passes 3-2. Now, Karen, do you have a motion you would like to make? Or Jim?
I would yield to Councilor Woodson.
I propose a motion that we suspend the town manager's employment with pay pending further discussion, and we introduce an agreed upon separation agreement at our next council meeting on November 21st, 2022.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
it seems like we're going through a lot of gymnastics here to try to take a week off of Roger's time in office. It seems like another path would just be to get a separate agreement with Roger that we bring in front of the next meeting and then take the action at the next meeting. I don't know what benefit we get from not having Roger doing his job for the next week.
Thanks, Councilor Veach. Any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Vote passes 3-2. All right. Counselor Adderholt, you still have the floor.
Well,
anything else on your list?
I have a number of things on my list, but I think given what we just talked about, I would yield to the mayor for a proposal to moving forward.
Well, I guess the proposal would be to work with the state to bring in someone immediately to bring back before council. It may mean that we have to have an emergency meeting before next Monday to approve that. So I guess I don't necessarily want to make the motion. I can't make the motion, but
I mean, the town manager's resignation is effective immediately. We need to have a plan as to who's going to be our town manager, our interim town manager, effective immediately.
Yeah, you shouldn't just walk off.
As I understand it.
And is that the case, or do we have to name someone interim town manager until we can have the people that?
Yeah, well, in the absence of an interim town manager, there's no one to run the administrative administration of the town. I mean, the department heads, I presumptively will continue to work, but there's no one for them to answer to, or there's no one to give them direction. In the absence of a town manager, the town manager under your charter is responsible for the day-to-day administration of the town. And in the absence of a town manager, or even an interim, there's no one to do that under your charter.
So are we looking to then name an interim town manager? I guess what I'm trying to get at is these people obviously don't know who I'm talking about. So if we found someone currently on staff to step in as the interim town manager and we decide to bring in outside resources to help us, would that person then still be the town manager, or would we shift
you could theoretically, whenever there's someone else that you all want to propose as your interim town manager at that council meeting, when that individual is available and been identified, there would be a motion to remove the designation of Joe Smith as the interim town manager and appoint Josephine Smith as the new interim manager.
Okay. Do you have someone in mind, Councilor Veach, you would like to see in the interim step in to handle the daily activities until I can bring forth the people that I've been talking to?
Well, that's an interesting question. I have a little bit of a family conflict here, but I do see in the audience Jim Steele is here. He served as the interim town manager before, and he served very honorably and admirably. I've not discussed it at length with him whether he could do that or not. He's down here surviving like the rest of us without any power and living on the island. I mean, that's just a suggestion. If there's somebody on staff, Mr. Mayor, who you're comfortable with, I'm just, you're asking me on the spot.
No, I understand.
Hold on.
So,
okay.
Town attorney, is there a conflict of interest?
Yes, there is. So while he certainly can talk about, who may be interested, the vice mayor should not make either the motion or second it, and should declare a conflict, sign the proper paperwork, and refrain from voting on the matter, because as I understand it, Mr. Steele falls within the class of individuals under state law that relative, and there's a state statute on the ethics laws that say that the council member can't vote for employment.
I would say two things, John. First of all, John's absolutely right. Just for full disclosure, Jim Steele's my uncle. And but the mayor put me on the spot and asked me who I thought could do that.
Yeah,
so that's the reason why I said it. I don't make the motion. I don't even know if Jim Steele is able or willing to do it. I know he's done it ably in the past, but I would yield to other suggestions from the council. I obviously, Mr. Steele has to comment. I would not participate. I would recuse myself in any of that. Doesn't matter to me from a family standpoint, but I certainly want to respect the state statute on that. So I would recuse myself. But again, open for suggestions. Again, I've not talked to Mr. Steele about this, so I don't know where he is life stage wise. And I know just upon my previous conversations that it would need to be very, very short term, because he's certainly done his service to the town.
All right, thank you for that. First, let's see if there's any interest from other council members that could vote on it to have Mr. Steele come in. And then if there is interest, we'll it's probably a little unorthodox, but ask to hear from Mr. Steele if that's something he would be interested in.
I have a very strong interest in having Mr. Steele as our interim town manager. The question I have is because there's a relationship between Councilman or Vice Mayor Adelholt and Jim, does that preclude us from having him, or that just precludes?
No, just precludes
from the vote?
the vice mayor from being able to vote on the matter.
All right, then I make a
Okay,
motion.
so we have some support. Mr. Steele, would you like to comment on whether or not that's something you'd be interested in? Obviously, we would still have to bring it to vote, but not to put you on the spot, but your nephew here, via being me, him putting him on the spot.
I would be interested on a short-term basis.
Okay, thank you.
Given that, I would like to make the motion to bring Mr. Jim Steele in on a short-term interim basis as town manager, Fort Myers Beach.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any
Mr.
discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to say this, but I think someone needs to. Mr. Steele, would you come up and I think it's important for those who don't know your history. Could you talk a little bit about your background, professional background? Because I think it's important for people to understand where you're coming from, aside from being the interim town manager.
I've been in government most of my life. I was city controller of Anderson, Indiana, then the executive director of the Indiana Bond Bank, then controller for the city of Indianapolis under two separate mayors, Mayor Hudnut and Mayor Goldsmith.
I don't know what his office is.
I became a consultant shortly thereafter, and I've completed my consulting work. So I think I'm qualified.
Thank you, sir. We got a motion and a second. Any other comments?
You know, I much as I like Jim, this seems to be all being done in haste, and I don't see a lot of transparency with it. To vote on giving a position, we haven't negotiated any compensation or anything on. I think that the motion should be to enter discussions instead of to say we want him as the interim. I think that.
Mr. Steele has got another comment.
If they say short-term basis, like less than a week, I will not charge the town a cent.
But you said less than a week. Less than a week, you said.
Today's a week from Monday. I won't charge you anything. And if you still want me after next Monday, then we'll talk about it.
So the plan is to have an interim manager for a week, and then by next week we're going to select a new manager, permanent manager. We're going to have somebody in place.
There'll be potential for that. Our town manager, although he has left, obviously is still available for help. I would agree, John. Based on Mr. Steele's comments, is that something that we can move forward with?
Yeah, it would be at least at this point in time. The motion would be to appoint Mr. Steele as the interim manager for a period of time not to exceed 1 week at zero pay. Beyond that, then next Monday you're going to have to take up the issue again.
Sure.
And if the desire is potentially to continue with Mr. Steele, then at that point in time, next Monday, it would be my recommendation that you make a motion to direct staff and whoever, an individual who you all designate to negotiate maybe a longer term agreement with Mr. Steele.
Now, John, isn't there procedure for selecting a town manager in our guiding documents and saying what we do? It won't just say, somebody. The job is yours.
Your permanent town manager. There are rules of procedure. In the policies and procedures, but I don't believe, and I can look and check very quickly and get back to each one of you before the end of the day. But I don't believe that there is a similar requirement with respect to an interim manager. I do know that there's a specific procedure laid out in your policies and procedures that you all have adopted on the hiring of a full-time town manager, plus your charter has language, and I'm paraphrasing, that has to be someone who has the requisite skill set to serve as a town manager for the permanent position.
But that procedure won't be complete in a week.
I
think
I certainly would doubt it, but you know there is a path set forth in your policies and procedures as to how the town goes about the process of selecting a permanent town manager.
And that procedure is in place to both allow us to solicit any candidates that are available and do the selection process in an open and transparent manner. That's the reason that's laid out. And I understand that Jim would step in for a week, but I don't see this procedure taking a week unless we're avoiding this open and transparent process of finding a new town manager.
No, I'll touch on that. I think I know where you're going with that, Bill. No, the people that I've been in discussion with, it is not my intent and it is not their intent for them to be our town manager. Their intent is to be our short-term town manager while we go through the process to find our long-term solution. That is what I was proposing at the beginning. It has nothing to do with picking our long-term solution. This is just to get us through as we can vet out our new potential town manager. That's the process.
Okay, so we'll have an interim town manager, we'll have a departing town manager who's still kind of around, and then we're going to select another temporary town manager before we actually select a permanent town manager.
Well, however you feel you need to compartmentalize it is up to you, but that is where we're at. We've had a motion, we've had a second, we've had a vote. We now have a second motion on the floor. Would you like to amend your motion based on what the town attorney has said and what Mr. Steele has said?
Yes, I will amend my motion to appoint Mr. Jim Steele on an interim basis for town manager at no pay for a period of 1 week, to be reviewed again on November 21st. At the same time, be looking for other opportunity and other people to fulfill that position.
I will approve. I will second as amended.
Got a motion and a second.
Mr.
Any
Mayor,
other suggestions?
I would just like to publicly recuse myself from this vote for obvious reasons.
Okay.
And I would just like to thank Mr. Steele for stepping up once again to serve your community. I appreciate it.
You know, I will say that I agree. Thank you, Mr. Steele, for being willing to step up. This has not been an easy discussion this morning. It's been a lengthy discussion. This is my first time sitting here. I probably didn't word it as smoothly as I probably should have. But I want to make one thing clear. My comments earlier regarding our town manager, Hernstedt, were not addressed at anyone but the town manager, Hernstedt. It had nothing to do with our staff, which I said at the beginning have been phenomenal throughout this entire process and continue to work their butts off, and I'll always have their back. So with those comments, we'll call the question. All those in favor?
So wait, before you go ahead, before you call the question. So just to be clear, we'll give Jim for a week, but then we're going to start the formal process of searching for a town manager? Or is there another step in there that you have this other plan?
Well, there's a potential. I think Mr. Steele had said that very short term, there are people that are willing to come in the intermediate to work us through the process to be able to get to our final solution. So to answer your question, it may be a week, it may be 2 weeks, but the process will be to bring people forward to this council to review, to step in for Mr. Steele while we do the process of searching for our next town manager.
And my point is that we have a formal process in our policies and procedures for selecting a new town manager. Are we instigating that process now?
Are you? I guess I'm not
To
understanding.
look for a permanent town manager in an open and transparent fashion according to our policies and procedures.
Well, I would certainly think that would be based on what I just said, I think that would be very prudent to do. We can, whether we open the search now or we open it next week, I think let's get through this week and see what we have on Monday. But yes, that would be.
Well, it just seems like there was an awful thing of urgency for right today, get rid of Roger and get an interim town manager for a week. It seems like that if we're doing it today, then the procedure takes time. So I think we should start the procedure of looking for a permanent replacement because we have to go and see who's interested. We have to put it out publicly, and it takes some time.
Yeah, as I understand it, Mr. Mayor, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the goal is during this brief period of time that Jim Steele will be interim town manager, you will be leading the search for an interim town manager that could get us through the next period of time until we formally have a search for a permanent town manager. Is that a fair characterization?
That's exactly a perfect.
That search could actually be relatively, based upon what you said earlier this morning, it may be relatively brief. It may not take until the end of the week, and you may have a suggestion for the council at the next council meeting. Am I overstating that based upon what you said this morning?
No, you're 100% correct.
Thank you.
Any more comments?
I would just say that again, now we're talking about having an interim town manager for a week to select another interim town manager and then eventually get a permanent town manager while we have a competent town manager who is already willing to work with us.
The question's been called. Can we move for a vote?
Thank you for your comments. Yes, I will call the question. We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay. Motion carries 3-1 with Vice Mayor Adderfault dissenting.
Did you say
Veach dissenting?
You mean recusing?
Veach. I'm sorry. Yes. Motion carries 3-1 with Councilor Veach dissenting, or
that's right,
dissenting.
Adderholt.
Jim, Councilor Adderholt, recusing himself.
Thank you.
Jeez. All right. We're getting there. Thank you for your patience. Vice Mayor Adderholt, anything else on your?
Well, the only thing I would say at this point is, and I would guess suggest this to the town attorney to make sure Councilor Veach is comfortable procedurally. Should we designate or can we designate the mayor then to lead the search for the interim town manager over this coming week? Do we need to do that? Can he do it on his own? What's best procedurally?
Under normal circumstances, it would be the interim town manager who potentially would be involved in that process, or whoever the town manager, whether or not you want to designate a council liaison to work with Mr. Steele to look at alternatives to replace him in the short term. That certainly is within the discretion of this council.
Mr. Town Attorney, I would just, again, for transparency purposes, I would like to make a motion to designate the mayor to work with the new interim town manager to search for a permanent, it's a little bit of an oxymoron, permanent interim town manager over the coming week. That's my motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would just comment before you quickly call the vote. Now again, I'm understanding this motion is that it appears that the mayor has a plan, which he hasn't really laid out for us. And the motion is in the name of transparency to allow him to work with the interim town manager to come up with a formal solution. I think we'd like a more open process, more along the lines of the policies and procedures where we let the interim town manager solicit any interested parties, and we look at them like we're filling a job, not putting a friend in a job, that we're filling a new job.
Appreciate your comments, and anything that under this motion that myself and Mr. Steele would find would obviously be brought back before the council for approval.
I would also suggest, and I would certainly volunteer with my human resource experience, that I would happy to be involved in anything that you would see going forward as the appropriate steps.
John, let me ask you a question on that. So the motion is for myself to work with Jim Steele, and there was a second. If candidates were identified, is there anything Sunshine related that could be whatever he and I come up with? Can it be sent out to the rest of the councilors for
it
vetting,
is
if you will?
it would always be my suggestion, as much as I don't want to sound like I'm minimizing the benefit of having Councilwoman Woodson involved in that process due to her background, but they're just a liaison for sunshine law issues. I think that the idea here, and what I'm hearing from the concerns of Councilmember Veach, is that just whatever it is that you identify with the interim town manager, that would be brought back in the sunshine, properly so, for it to be vetted for potential and appointment of, as the vice mayor said, I would agree, kind of an oxymoron, a permanent interim town manager, while the formal process of selecting town manager plays out in accordance with the policies and procedures. But I do want to caution all of you that this process there obviously has to be done in the sunshine. It doesn't mean that it's inappropriate to appoint a liaison, but that's the point. It's just one council member who then has to come back and report to everyone in the sunshine before decisions are made. And last but not least, to the extent that you've already voted on it, I would suggest that Mr. Steele take a seat up at the dais. He's been appointed already the interim town manager for at least the next week.
Welcome aboard. With that, we have any other comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Vice Mayor Ederholt, anything else on your list?
You know, I have a lot of other things on my list, but I think we've had enough from me today. I would yield to my colleagues at this point.
Okay, Councilmember Veach, do you have anything on your list?
Sure, lots of things. Questions actually would have been for Roger, some of them. One thing that we should have, we should expedite as part of our future agenda, is a review of our budget, because we just voted on a budget recently, but the situation has changed so radically that I think we need to dive back in and modify the budget. There is a position to do that, because we have things like, a loan for a renovation of Times Square, which obviously isn't going to happen. There's a lot of different things, and we have other needs that we didn't have before. So I think that I would recommend that we do a budget review and look at the decisions we made from last year and see which of them should stay and which of them we need to either free up funds or that are not necessarily pertinent to our situation today.
New interim manager Steele, that is something that's in your wheelhouse. Is that something that you can prepare to have for us? Suggestions and a review of that budget process by the next meeting?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking for?
Yep, just basically what has changed on the ground that would force us to modify our budget from last year. Is there consensus in council to go forward with that, move it on the agenda?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that, but just again, for transparency purposes, I think everybody knows this, but for those who are watching, Jim Steele also happens to be the current chair of the audit committee for Fort Myers Beach.
Well, if I may, by accepting this position, the net effect is that Mr. Steele has tendered his resignation from that committee, and we'll be expecting an email to that effect prior to the end of today, the business day today.
And that's
he
fine.
can no longer be on the committee and also be your interim town manager.
That's fine, John. I guess I was saying that just to let the public know that it's not like he's coming in from left field. He's been engaged in the budget process for some time in Fort Myers Beach. Yep.
Yeah. And just so now this will not make our audit committee drop below quorum. They'll still be able to meet.
That I don't know. Yeah, we haven't had any appointments. Generally, that would be one of the things that we would do either today or certainly at the next meeting. Since it's new council, you all get to appoint the new members, their appointees that they wish, and so as I understand it, as it currently exists, there are no active committees.
All right. Is there a consensus to Councilor Veach's budget review? I'm in favor of it.
I'm in favor.
Consent.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, now also, because I do have a few items here. The people, and I really appreciate the people that came up and talked about the school. I know it is important in this community. We've lost banks. If we lose a school, we start losing churches. You know, how long are we still a community with this? That I would like to, I assume this is a school board final decision, and that somebody out there, you should start a group, maybe a Facebook group or something, and let people know when these school board meetings are going to be, because the kind of passionate speeches that you made to us, who already support the school, would be very powerful tool to the school board when they're talking about these items, even when they're not, just to keep it in mind. Another thing is as one of the speakers said, I continue to have concerns about the water quality. There's a lot of debris in the water. It's not just about the different bacteria and stuff that are in there. That I would encourage now, Jim, to create some warning signs to put around the beach, maybe at the beach accesses or other entry points, so people are aware of the condition of the water. And I'll also, along the same lines, Jim, I was sent some pictures over the weekend of people parking on the sand in Newton Park, parking very close to where it drops off before the seawall, and even playing on the seawall, which is now completely isolated from the land by a huge cavern. That if we could more fortify that so people don't pull and park in Newton Park or other beach accesses where there are known hazards. I don't want to see anybody else getting hurt. Now, another question, I don't know, Jim probably can't answer this, but it seems like they're not picking up refrigerators. I know there's a lot of refrigerators out there, and I think that my feeling is if there's food in the refrigerator, that they don't pick them up. But I'd like a clarification from debris removal about what it takes to get refrigerators moved.
Staff may have the answer to that, but I
think
think
that, we've got a member.
White goods are Crowder.
Crowder Golf.
Yeah.
Gotta come up here.
With council permission.
Say your name for the record, please, sir.
Council, my name is Barton Holmes. I'm with Crowder Golf. I'm the project manager for Fort Myers Beach. To speak to your question directly, sir, the white good issue is a separate debris stream. So the big grapple trucks are not the ones that are collecting the refrigerators. Whether or not there's food in them or not, they will be collected. And to date, we're working different sections of the island, but we've already collected over, I think it's 8,000 white good pieces on the island. So our crews are actively doing that. Obviously, we're trying to do that as quickly as possible to get to every street. But even this morning, there's 3 white good crews on the island working.
So just to be clear, so you have trucks that are doing general debris, trucks that are doing green waste,
yeah, correct,
and trucks that are doing white goods, as you call them.
Absolutely, yes, sir. So the construction and demolition debris and the vegetative waste are what you see the big black grapple trucks getting. Electronic waste and white goods are a separate debris stream with different vehicles and trucks and different crews.
All right.
Same with household hazardous waste as well.
Okay, thank you. And I'll also, since it was apparently assigned to me, about this analysis. I'm sorry, it's not public comment. Okay, part of the analysis that was sent by the Florida Department of Emergency Management about the 50% rule, I found was pretty interesting. And then I've seen you've all, maybe the interim people haven't, but this is an opinion that was brought up when the county was talking about changing their ordinance on how the 50% rule was calculated. And the conclusion they had was that, right now we have 50%, and then you add 20% to the structure divided by 2, and then and that's the value that we're going with. They concluded that codifying a fixed adjustment factor in the locally adopted definition of market value is inconsistent with FEMA guidance. They also said that codifying a fixed adjustment for market value is not consistent with the FEMA approved definition. So this kind of, and they also said that the county property appraiser is the appropriate government official to determine the adjustment factors and the value. So when I read through this, and even they're talking about a period, the recommended period of going back to the appraisal cycle, that this to me says that by FEMA guidance that we would just have the 50% without any additional adjustment factor outside of what the county appraiser does with his addition. And I don't know how many people out there who are waiting to decide whether or not they're going to go forward with trying to get underneath the 50% rule, and whether that 20% is the difference to them being able to or not being able to. It's an important consideration. I think maybe worth getting I don't even need more clarification for FEMA, but to try to just get to the bottom of what we can do and give people as much guidance as we can going forward.
I can opine on that a little bit. I believe today that the county commission was going to be discussing this specific item. Their attorneys had basically told them to table this until they could discuss it at today's meeting. What the outcome of that is, I don't know yet, but thank you for bringing that up. Those of you that don't know what that letter says, is it was sent to the county commission stating that they could not add a percentage factor on top of the home value that you received on your LIPA.org letter. So
it also clarifies that it's the county appraiser's job to come up with the values that are acceptable. It's not the town's job. It's the county appraisers, and even to add the additional factor is the appraiser's job.
Yeah, I think we should follow up with how that meeting went today to see if anything has changed since that letter was sent out.
Okay, and I think along these lines too, I think I'd reiterate again, I would appreciate maybe having a management planning meeting where we can discuss these things more in depth and air it out for everybody to see the discussions that go on about it.
Okay. Anything else, Councilor Veach?
I think that's it.
Okay. Councilor Woodson, anything on your restoration of Fort Myers Beach agenda?
Except the fact that we have to go forward and go forward positively and quickly and have people involved and have planners and get organized behind this. I think that's extremely important. The only other thing I want to say, and I don't even know if it's appropriate, but I'm going to say it anyway. I just want to thank everyone for the support that you've shown myself, that you've shown John, and the rest of the council in their support in welcoming us. Thank you.
Councilor King, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, sir. As soon as I run a microphone, I'll be glad to do that. I'd like to see us waive permitting fees for up to 90 days. I'll make that a motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that for discussion purposes.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments?
There's nothing accompanying this to say what that will cost us. I mean, we have almost every structure on the island has been affected. And if we have, 4,000 structures on the island and every one of them may need a permit, we could be talking millions of dollars. I think approving this without doing an analysis of the financial impact of it would be reckless.
I would ask Councilor King if he would amend the motion to have it coincide with what the Fort Myers Beach Fire District has already done. They've put a 90-day moratorium on. Their clock started ticking obviously sooner than ours because this is the first time we've been able to get something like this passed. Would you be amenable, Councilor King, to amending the motion to have it flow in concert with the Fort Myers Beach Fire District's moratorium, which would mean it wouldn't go as long, but we always have the ability to extend it. But at least we would be consistent with the fire district.
That's why I worded it as up to 90 days, so that could fall within that time period.
And so just for clarity purposes, the motion would then potentially, or would then be, could we sync it to the fire district then? Would you be comfortable with that?
And that's why I worded it that way.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Just so we're clear.
Once again, if you're worried about budget and you're worried about finances, I think without knowing what this is going to cost or without putting some kind of cap on it, I think this, and the other thing about it too is honestly you are forcing, this is not our money. This is the taxpayers' money. So you are telling other property taxpayers that they have to pay for someone else's permit if they get it in within 90 days. If you can't get it within 90 days, you don't get it. And we have no idea what the financial impact is. This is not trivial. This could be millions of dollars. And I think moving forward without knowing what that impact is, I think is reckless and financially irresponsible.
I think it's a help to the taxpayers and those people that want to rebuild here.
Any other comments?
My initial comment was why only 90 days, but I will go with the 90 days.
So I think
Up to 90 days.
It's really probably, since we're day 47 into the storm. So if it was whenever the fire department adopted their particular, which I think was maybe a couple weeks after the storm. But to Councilor Woodson's concern, we can always extend it. This just gives us a little bit more flexibility, to Councilor Veach's point, to better understand the fiscal impact. But from a short-term standpoint, given the crisis of the disaster that we've all been through, to provide some short-term relief to our residents seems to me very prudent.
But once again, we're moving forward with this without knowing what the financial impact will be. I mean, I'm just saying that, I like to know what I'm paying for a car before I sign the papers.
Your comments are well placed. For me, I brought it up at a previous meeting. I think we've asked this community to do some things that cost them money that, although it was needed for safety, we have to be cognizant, in my opinion, that they have expelled a lot of extra money that, unfortunately, the storm made us go through. But if this is a small step, and I agree, we don't know what that financial impact will be, but I believe Mr. Steele will be able to help us get that information fairly quickly based on what permits have already been applied for and what have been received. But I will support the motion. So with that, I'll call the question. If there's no other comments, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Nay. Motion carries 4-1. Mr. King, anything else on your?
Discussion with a business owner on Friday night about extending curfew hours. Does that fall within our parameters, or?
Yes.
I would like to see us extend our curfew hours from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. to help out local businesses.
For purpose of discussion, I will second it, but I would be I didn't see Captain Lalo here. He's been in every single meeting. And I don't know if there's a representative from the Sheriff's Department here.
Lieutenant was here. I don't know if he's outside or if he's left. But
If anybody sees the Sheriff's office, I'm just, the morning piece should be, they're the ones who have to implement all this. And I want to make sure, I love the intent of what Councilor King is doing, because these businesses are really trying to function. But at the same time, I want to make sure it's something that we can implement with the Sheriff's Office cooperation in a pragmatic and sort of practical way.
Thank you. I agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that it's important that we talk with the Sheriff's Office before we make a change like that.
But that's why I didn't make it as a motion. I just would like to see us.
Then I support looking into that further, and maybe at their next meeting in consultation in conjunction with the Sheriff's Office, proceeding accordingly.
Thanks, Jim.
Any other comments on that? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think that depending upon the outcome of the discussion, is this an item that we bring back at the next meeting? That would be my recommendation, strong recommendation, for two reasons. One, we approve the resolution extending the emergency declaration, and that included the 7 to 7. And just as importantly, to remind the council that 7 to 7 is actually in your town code by ordinance. So while we certainly can have those communications and ultimately come to an agreement with the Sheriff's Office, that's acceptable. But then in order to make everything legal, which is my job, then we would actually have to adopt an emergency ordinance modifying that current code provision that says from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to state presumptively from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we'd bring that to you at the next meeting.
Okay.
A couple other things. I'll try to do it quickly. I heard several times now a need for the LPA and the council to meet. I'd like to see us at least try to start establishing that so we just don't keep talking about it. And my understanding is also that someone added their name to the LPA, Don Sudduth. I don't know if now's the appropriate time to approve that or not, but just keep that in mind. Then again, I'm also hearing about the beach not being cleaned up. I know part of that has been turned over to the state, but I think we have capable public works people here that I understand had been out there at one point doing the work, and I would like to see them get out there and continue that effort. Also, the clean sand piles. They've been taking sand from condo associations and cleaning it and piling it up. And my understanding is the county will take that if it's not used by us by a certain date. I'm not familiar with what that date might be, but I know of at least 2 condo associations where they had piles of sand in their parking lot, and that was removed by those folks on a Monday and Tuesday when they, or Sunday and, Monday and Tuesday when they could not get on the island. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Most of the things that I had to add on here had been covered. I would like to see that joint meeting with the LPA happen sooner than later, as well as an M&P meeting as suggested by Councilor Veach. If we can get something put together based on schedule of staff as soon as possible for those 2 things.
And but John, just a clarification of what the mayor's saying. So it would be appropriate to have like an M&P meeting with the LPA for discussions if we're not really voting on anything or making any.
That's my understanding, is that the request of the LPA is to have a workshop meeting. It would have to be noticed, and we'd have to comply with the sunshine law in that regard, but no official action would be taken. Rather than, as we have historically, if there was consensus and then for items that needed council action to be taken, then we bring them back at a normal council meeting for the town council to take action on. But in such meetings,
I would recommend that we do a joint LPA meeting, M&P. So we need to have an open discussion with them about where we're going from here.
I'm certainly open to that. Fellow councilors, okay. All right. If you guys can work on that.
The one thing I think that we as staff need clarification, and it is under item 15, council members' items and reports, is the next regularly scheduled meeting. Do you want it? Because my recollection of the conversation at the last meeting was that and to be discussed today was to continue to have the every Monday meeting, but the last meeting, which would be the 4th Monday of the month, would be the M&P, which historically in the past has been on Thursdays.
Well, it would be my opinion to continue to have the continued Monday meetings and add, if it's a Thursday, add an M&P joint meeting on top of that. That would be what I would like to see, but I'll defer to my colleagues to see if that would work with their schedule as well.
Currently, on the old schedule, there was an MNP meeting already set for this Thursday, the 17th at 9 a.m. That was on the schedule.
Yeah, and that's correct. But my understanding is that as a result of the storm, the previous calendar had been suspended. It's up to you all to reinstate it. Again, that's part and parcel of this conversation.
How much time do you need to be able to properly notice it and find out who from the LPA could actually be there?
Well, no. We're just talking about like a regular M&P. If we don't know, I can't answer that question, and I'll defer to the clerk. But I think that 3 days is, to get it noticed. As a general rule, the Attorney General has said that meetings need to be noticed at least 48 hours in advance. So that would mean that we'd have to have everything lined up by tomorrow. I don't know if that can be done given the circumstances. I'd defer to the interim town manager and the town clerk on that.
Thanksgiving. So, I'm not opposed to having it it doesn't have to be necessarily on a Thursday. In my opinion, it can be, what if we shot for the 22nd?
That's the Lee County School meeting.
That's right. Never mind. Yeah. Okay. Or the 23rd.
I'm gone the 22nd through the 28th. But if we can, we can also we can ask the LPA if they can get enough there for a quorum on this Thursday, and the council can. Then I'm up for doing it this Thursday if we can. We wouldn't have much of an agenda. It would just be discussion. So it wouldn't take too long, hopefully, to create the packet.
Well, and I think Amy, is that something that could be done by Thursday?
If you want it done by Thursday, we'll make it happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does that work for?
Love that attitude.
So we'll tentatively set it for the 17th at 9 a.m. in the same location.
I just deleted that from my calendar.
And the only other thing that I had was touched on basically what Councilor King was talking about is the beach cleanup. That to me should be one of the highest priorities. That's what everybody comes down here for. That's what we came here for. If we could get some sort of coordination with our incident command team to figure out the best way to safely do that and work with the sheriff's department and the fire district to people are wanting to clean up the beach. They're wanting to get out there and clean up what is our most valuable asset. If there's something that we could do, maybe we can coordinate with Sanibel and have one big day. I don't want to speak for Mayor Smith, but I know that she's as gung-ho as I am about trying to get our beaches back as fast as possible. So maybe we can work with the state and come up with something that we can do relatively quickly to get our community out there and get the beaches cleaned up. So it is soothing to the soul when you can walk out there and watch the sunset again. It lets you forget about, your day of cleanup and things that have been taken from you. So if it's something that we can do, I don't know, maybe if one of our incident commanders are here, they can plan on that.
I really appreciate the sentiment. Something I've been thinking about. I know that Bill Perry has gone out and on his own cleaned up large debris. I have concerns about water quality, and if someone gets a scratch picking something up in that water, I have concerns about safety. Because I thought about reaching out to Keep Lee County Beautiful. They do cleanups all the time. We probably get a pretty good crowd.
Sure.
If we can come up with a way with doing it safe, then I would be happy to help and participate.
Well, Councilor Beach, would you want to kind of head that up to try to get some organization going for that?
I'll talk to maybe the people that keep Lee County Beautiful and see if there's something that they have concerns about safety before they put their volunteers out.
Sure, 100%.
Mr. Mayor? Yes. Along those lines, if I could ask for consent from the council, I see Mayor Smith is here, and let me just say that's amazing that she's taking time away from her day to be here. And so thank you again, Madam Mayor. I want to ask consent for the council for the agenda for next Monday. If we could put on that agenda the assignment for the TDC committee. I'm a firm believer, having watched Mayor Smith in action at the TDC, I'm a firm believer that the mayor of the town should be the representative for the TDC, given the critical role the TDC is going to play in our beach renourishment and other dynamics that impact our island. I've enjoyed serving on the TDC. It's been an honor, but I really think our mayor should serve. So I would ask the clerk and the attorney to make sure that that's on with the consent of my colleagues, if that's on the agenda for next week, so we could, at a minimum, we could maybe do some other ones too. But I wanted to make sure that the new mayor was appointed in time to be appointed and then actually attend as a member of the TDC for their next meeting, which I believe is on December 8th at 9:00. So I'm asking for consent from my colleagues. I'm putting the mayor on the spot. I'm hoping he'll be willing to do that. I know he will, but I just for the record, I thought it was an appropriate time given the conversation regarding our beach.
Well, we are going to have we are going to go through the process of reassigning all the different
That'll be on
liaison
next
positions.
Okay.
Just want to make sure that's on the agenda for Monday.
With that, I don't have anything else on that, so we'll move on to the.
I have one more question. I just have one more question. So I know that we are scheduled, according to our agenda, that we have a meeting on Monday, November 21st at 9 a.m. That would be a council meeting. We talked about having I know we got a lot of meetings this week, but having a special meeting to discuss the transition and separation agreement, that type of thing, or are we just going to have that on the agenda for next Monday's meeting?
My intention was to have it on the next agenda, not regular agenda.
Yeah, I don't know that unless the council feels that they want to meet for that specific item earlier.
I'm just bringing it up just in case we have it out there so that we can all be in sync before the next town council meeting.
I think I see what you're saying there. Well, ask my colleagues if that's something that they want to do to, before Monday, have a meeting to discuss a potential replacement of the interim town manager before then.
If the mayor feels like that, and being the designee for this task, if the mayor feels like that he will have a recommendation for the council prior to Monday, I'm open to that as well.
Okay. And I believe I could call a special meeting now if we had to, if we needed to before next Monday. Is that correct?
Now, is this something
Or how
that we're
much
just going to
time?
be discussing or taking action on? Because it's just discussing. Could we do that as part of the MMP?
You can have any discussion you want at any meeting. Taking action requires a regular or special call meeting to actually be scheduled to take place where something can be voted on. At MNP, it's just a workshop and no votes can be taken.
So if this is to be able to review the separation agreement and discuss it, I think we can just, I don't know why we can't do that at the MMP meeting and then vote on it Monday.
That certainly makes sense to me. We'll plan on doing that at the Thursday meeting, John, if you can have that ready to go by then.
If I can, I will. In any event, I'll be reporting to you at that point in time.
Okay. Anything else, Councilman? Councilwoman?
No, I'm good.
All right. The next is final public comment. Do we have any speakers, Madam Clerk?
I'm Samantha Campbell, and we're at 125 Carlos Street. And one of the biggest things is, what is the procedure for getting rid of the sand? We can't even move down our street because everyone has sand piled everywhere. You know, we've watched the debris trucks every day. We haven't seen one in 4 days. I get it. There's everywhere, but is there a company schedule for it that we can see when our streets are going to be surfaced? And also on
Thank you. If I could just comment real quick, since I think we're going to start commenting on some of these questions. You asked two good questions. I think our public works director is here today, as well as the debris removal folks.
Yeah.
But I mean, you might want to chat with this gentleman.
Yeah,
right.
Jim, what I'd like to do is let people make their comments. We'll make notes.
Okay, that's
and
fine.
Then under maybe the town manager's items, we can have those questions answered.
That'd be fine.
By the town manager or staff at that point.
Very good. Thank you.
It's pretty warm in here. I think just for the sake of time, it might be smoother than trying to address every single one as we go.
I think that's a good idea.
Any other comments?
Hi, my name's Erin. I'm on PTO. I have two daughters at Fort Myers Beach Elementary. To what you were saying regarding the parents and the comments, there is a Facebook PTO page where you can ask to join access, and then you can get all the good information from our president and, just information on helping try to save the school. In addition, we ask for your help by showing up at the Lee School County Board meeting on November 22nd to help fight for our school, because I am on a very small focus group with the PTO and the superintendent and his department, and it is never positive, and it doesn't look good. And the answer is there is no answer. And so if we could just have your help in helping fight to save our school. Thank you.
And just before you go, I know we're not, could you just say the name of that Facebook page so people can find it?
Yeah, if you just search on Facebook, it's PTO Fort Myers Beach.
Okay, thank you.
The time for that meeting?
Parent
Hold
teacher.
on. I plan on addressing this at the end here, so to ask for all the information. So we'll cover it at the end. Thank you. Is your public comment? Sure.
Hi, my name is Neri Korn. I'm the owner of H2O and Beach Connection. I'm having a little bit of problem. It's in the square. Me and Daniel that belong to the Tiki Hut, we almost pay $11,000 to clean up our area, but we have a problem that Brad and Chris, that the Sandal Factory, and the Brad that owned the bars or the stores refuse to clean this act because I can't get electric, because the right of way that they sign up belong into the land, and because the land they refuse to clean, they want me to clean the land when they have a policy of $1 million each of them, and part of the policy for them to clean up. So I'm having a major problem to move the pole that's sitting behind that is tilted. And I asked FPL, and they made me to clean, but they can't get the access to move the pole because they're refuse. And I said it 10 times to clean the act, and that's a very dangerous area. I've been cleaning inside the stores, outside the stores, debris, and it's disgusting. It is disgusting to see people doesn't want to help the charter when they have a policy and they've got $30,000 in rent every month, but now they're refusing to clean the act, and the Times Square looks like a garbage disposable. And I did spoke with this gentleman, and he did help me to clean what I moved to the street. So I'm asking the city, the town, please help me to get my electric back. I do deserve electric. I got my water back because the people, kindly enough, the water company did clean the debris, and they tell me I have water. But he was there, and he promised to me that if you move it to the street, it will clean it. And it's not fair from any other people to stop me to get my business running just because they refuse to clean it up. And I don't care who's supposed to clean up. It's not about the money. But I can't go to anybody's private and pay $20,000-$30,000 off my pocket, which is we already paid. And it's hard. I can't continue this like that when I move all kind of garbage. So I'm pleasing from you as the new mayors, the new council, please help me so I can go back in my feet and not lose any more money. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I'm Brittany. I wish I would have talked when there were more people here. I attended Fort Myers Beach Elementary. It's a small community. It's a great community. 3 of the 6 teachers that are there were teachers when I was there 20 years ago. So these people care. And another teacher is a friend's parent. So it's a small community. We need everybody here, there, on Tuesday at 6 p.m. at the Lee County School District. We have to save this school. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Thank you. Any other people out there for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Town manager's item. Mr. Steele, do you have anything you want to add?
What a meeting. Thank you for your confidence. I'll do the best I can.
Thank you. Town attorney item?
Yeah, only one comment with respect to the beach cleanup issue. I don't know enough, but I do, to give you a potentially full answer. But I do know, enough to kind of what I like to say be dangerous, which is, the cleanup under the state auspices that we've turned over that function to has a multi-components. Obviously, the right-of-way, we've moved on to request and have received approval to through the state through FEMA to remove private residential property on private property. There's also been a request to be able now to do the same thing with respect to commercial property on private commercial parcels. And the last component is under the auspices of DEP to clean up the beach and to clean up the canals. And so, one of the benefits of doing so is the town not running the risk or shifting the risk of reimbursement issues to the state. So the only thing that I would say is that if it's the council's direction for staff to begin that process, certainly we're going to do whatever you say, but then that may conflict with the state contract and the state process. And I absolutely know and understand the frustration of the community with the pace of the cleanup. And, it's a matter of resources, et cetera, et cetera. And some streets are being cleaned up, some streets aren't. Some private property owners are taking the responsibility for helping out, some aren't. All those things factor in. So my only point is we are trying to move forward in that respect cautiously to minimize the town's financial exposure, which is also something that all of you expressed during today's meeting. And so while it is taking longer than anyone would hope, there is somewhat, best way for me to describe it, a method to the madness, and not making sure, but taking steps as best as possible to shift the financial burden away from the town and its taxpayers onto the state and to FEMA. And the trade-off in that regard may be they're moving at their pace as opposed to what the town would want. And ultimately, we as staff will continue to apply the pressure and indicate to the state agencies and to the contractors that sooner rather than later, but we want to make you all aware of that's part of the dynamic that's in play here, and the trade-off, so to speak, of ensuring that the financial exposure is less, but maybe slower. So we'll continue to look into those issues. I do know that it's being worked on because I have received communications from staff asking about beach cleanup and where it's at, and it's my understanding that at this point in time, staff is communicating directly with FDEP and the contractors on those issues. If there's anyone here who might be able to add to that, please do so, and we'll continue to report to the council on those efforts as they move forward.
All right. Thanks, John. That's good points. Anything else? No? Council member items and reports. The first one is rebuilding the Beach Elementary School. I'll start on this one because I asked to have it added based on the comments and the emails received from the community. Obviously, that was shared. The reason I wanted to bring it up is because I agree with every single one of you. I did not go to that school. I did not have any kids that go to that school. I did have the pleasure of being Santa Claus at the school a couple of times, which, being Santa Claus in Florida is not always the best job, but to see the kids' faces, it makes it worthwhile. And I guess I wanted to see if there's a consensus, if it will do any good, if there's a consensus from the council to put a formal letter together from staff that we strongly urge the department or the school board to reconsider any decisions they make to closing down that beach school, and give this community a chance to show them that when times are tough and they need to step up, they will do it. There's a lot of hardworking people and families out there. It means a lot to them. It means a lot to me. That is part of our culture. That is part of who we are. So if I have consensus from my colleagues to put together some sort of letter from the town, official letter, to send to the school board that we support keeping that school. And then if anyone has any information pertaining to the November 22nd meeting, time, place, what we need to do, if you could get it to the town clerk so that she can get it out to us, I think you might see a good turnout there, at least from this council as well as the community. So if you can get any information about that meeting to the town clerk, she will get it to us. And I'll kind of leave it at that. Any of my colleagues have any comments on that? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think your idea is a good one. I would just say to the public, and you all know this because I'm sure you've been following it very closely, but a referendum just passed the Lee County that makes the superintendent of public schools an elected superintendent. So I would just ask that any correspondence that we come up with, which I think is great, not only go to the school board, but also be sent to the superintendent as well.
Very good point.
And
Anyone else?
I'm totally in accordance with doing that. I want to support whatever we can do to keep the school here, keep families involved.
And now this is something you hope to have a letter by, I guess there's a meeting tomorrow. Is that what I was hearing?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's-
next Tuesday. Oh, okay.
Get it, well, as soon as we can get something together and signed and send to them. Pardon me. Please.
Yes, everybody, all of you, please show up in person.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, we got it. Yeah, if once you send it to the town clerk, she'll get it to us, and I think you'll be surprised at how many people show up. All right.
I would just say that I agree that I think we need to be there. Send that letter, make it strongly worded, mentioning the points that were addressed today, such as the tax issue, the new Margaritaville issue where workers can bring their kids. And not only send that letter, but then allow one of us to read it during their, I assume, public comments section. So I'm in full support.
Okay. The next, anything else on that? Any other comments? The next regularly scheduled meeting is next Monday. Actually, now is going to be Thursday, M&P meeting, joint meeting with the LPA at 9 a.m. in this tent. Is that correct? Okay.
Yep.
And then the following Monday at 9 a.m., November the 21st, in the same tent. Anything else? Any other council member items that haven't been discussed yet?
I have a quick question for John. John, the emergency order signed by the Florida Department of Emergency Management. Now that was for 30 days. That allowed us some things like being able to do Zoom meetings and meet outside the jurisdiction. That's expired now, right?
We'll check to see whether or not the Division of Emergency Management issued an extension of that. But otherwise, no, which would mean that we would have to meet within the confines of the town limits, as well as have a fiscal quorum present in order to be able to have a meeting. So we'll look into that.
And also, if there's any other changes that are relevant that we should be aware of with that expiring.
Yes, we'll find out, and I appreciate the email on that subject.
Thanks.
Move to adjourn.
We got a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 11:50.